There are moments in life when you realize that the wisest course of action is to just take a step back, leave, and vanish. Perhaps you have poured out everything that is within of you. Some people, however, take that for granted. They sense it, I promise, when you finally make the decision to vanish. Yes, people experience it in unexpected ways. Shock is the first emotion babies experience. An icy shock when they turn to face the world and see you gone. They assumed you were always there. They believed that you would always be there, offering your heart, time, and energy. Then you're not one day. They realize how valuable you were after that shock, which is like a mirror held up to them. Sometimes it's not until your absence shouts louder than your presence that others realize how valuable you are. Next is introspection. They begin to reflect on the past and piece together the instances they may have missed, when they ought to have expressed appreciation, thanks, or even love. They are left to their own actions, both good and evil, and everything in between while you are away. When you vanish, they are compelled to consider how they handled you and acknowledge that perhaps they could have handled things differently. It can be difficult to accept when they realize how they exploited others or how they allowed things get away with it. That emptiness comes next. You know, every one of us contributes a special warmth to the table, a presence that cannot be replicated, a light. And that space stays when you're gone. They sense the void that was previously filled by your presence. That gap becomes like a burden since no one else can bring what you brought. No one can take the place you left behind, even if they try to find someone else to do it. They are reminded of what they have lost by that emptiness. Here's the worst part though. Sometimes kids require your absence in order to develop. You are offering them the gift of self-improvement when you take a step back. They could begin to realize that in order to appreciate what is in front of them, they must change and treat others better. Someone can be awakened by that absence and realize that they cannot afford to treat others indifferently or carelessly. Your choice to vanish can provide them the motivation they need to change for the better. To all of you who have given more than you received and who have been taken for granted, never hesitate to take a step back. Allow them to sense it. Allow them to experience the astonishment, the mirror, and the void. Because sometimes the only way people can learn to appreciate what they have is to disappear. And who knows? Perhaps, just possibly, they will return in a better state than they were. But in the interim, remember that your silence has the ability to communicate more effectively than words ever could. A person's initial reaction when you leave their life is shock. The reality that what they had is gone comes as a shock, and it strikes them more forcefully than they anticipated. People start to take your presence, your enthusiasm, and your efforts for granted because they are so accustomed to you being there. They count on you to always be there, to always contribute, to always be the one keeping everything together, to quietly support, to sacrifice, and to always show up. It isn't until you take it away from them that they realize how valuable it is. The realization dawns on you when you've taken a step back, when you've decided to retreat. They glance around and it becomes unbearable that you are not there. It's as though they were unaware of a gap in their lives until it was too late. They come to understand how much they depended on you and how much they took you for granted at that point. The calls you took, the assistance you provided, and the small actions you took are no longer happening. All of a sudden, they are burdened by the consequences of their deeds and inactions. The fact is that they miss more than simply you. They miss what you stood for. They miss your unwavering allegiance, the stability you provided, and the peace in their upheaval, as well as the constant presence that persisted through everything. The shock is caused by the loss of a power that kept everything together, not just the absence of a person, something they could count on, a constant. And that is your presence's power. You were the one who filled in the holes they were unaware existed, even if you may not have realized it at the time. It was you who provided vitality, who listened when others would not, and who comprehended without passing judgment. They must now bear the burden of that emptiness since you are no longer there. It's not comfy. It's eerie. They never anticipated this wake-up call. There's more to the shock than simply turning away. It's about them admitting they were unaware of how much they needed you. Until it was too late, they relied all on you. They are forced to contemplate at that precise instant as the shock subsides. Their only option is to appreciate what they had when they had it. Even though it's a strong lesson, people frequently only learn it after you're gone. And occasionally that's precisely what they require: the room to awaken and realize that what you provided wasn't something that anyone could provide. It was different. It couldn't be replaced. And they become aware of it in that moment of shock. People are left to sit by themselves when you vanish and remove yourself from the commotion. And the actual job starts there. They begin to think critically, considering their own choices, behaviors, and conduct. You see, they are no longer able to dodge the reality. They didn't have to deal with it when you were there giving it your all. They didn't have to face the moments when they were disrespectful, reckless, or self-centered. However, now that your absence is looming, they are forced to face the truth about how they treated you. Silence and taking a step back have a certain strength. They can't use hollow phrases or excuses to divert their attention while you're not around. They must confront the unvarnished reality of their actions. And some people are struck harder than they anticipated. It goes beyond simply missing you. Realizing that they might have taken you for granted is the key. They begin to mentally relive the instances in which they disregarded your requirements, dismissed your generosity, or disregarded the indications that you were giving more than you were receiving. They start asking themselves the difficult questions as a result of that introspection. Did I truly appreciate what I had? Could I have performed better? Was I oblivious to the influence this individual had on my life? What follows is potent. They are compelled to face their shortcomings, the moments when they didn't live up to your expectations. You see, when someone is always there, it's easy to take them for granted. However, when they're gone, you realize how much you've lost and how profound what you had was. They discover more about themselves in that absence. They are aware of their errors, their missed opportunities, and the things they could have done differently. And that reflection hurts some people. It's uncomfortable, but it's essential, because how could they ever change if they didn't have that self-awareness and confront their own behavior? How would they develop? They might start to see that their treatment of you didn't represent who you are. It was a reflection of their behavior, their indifference, their carelessness, or who they were at the moment. It has nothing to do with you. It was about their personal anxieties, insecurities, and incapacity to see reality when it was right in front of them. But now that you're gone, they realize the reality. And that truth has a lot of power. They might be altered by it. When you disappear, you give them the opportunity to develop and experience the results of their actions. If they are prepared to confront the truth, own up to their mistakes, and learn from them. By doing this, you put the onus on them to decide whether to take responsibility, change, and improve, or to stick with the same course. Will they use this hard lesson to grow? That is the question now. Or will they continue to make the same errors? They have an opportunity to awaken when you are not around. It allows individuals to reassess their behavior and how they interact with others who are important to them. And they will feel that change whether they admit it to you or not, whether they acknowledge it or not. They'll notice a shift, and that change will reverberate long after you're gone. Will they be able to handle the situation? Will they take use of this time to think things through, change, and grow into the person you want to be with? Or will they continue to be caught in the same pattern? When you leave someone's life, they begin to experience an unexpected sense of emptiness. They are unable to simply replace this gap with other individuals or with diversions. Whether we realize it or not, each and every one of us contributes something unique to the table. It might be the way you listen when no one else does, your enthusiasm, your dedication, or your kindness. Even though you might not have given it any consideration at the time, your presence filled the room. Just by being yourself, you improve the situation. Now that space is left when you're gone. It feels quieter in the room. There is less significance in the conversations. Something seems to be lacking a weight that wasn't there previously. They can't replace what you brought into their lives, no matter how hard they attempt to fill it with other things or people. In actuality, there was something special and precious about your presence. It was more than what you did. It has to do with your identity. And the whole is genuine once that's gone. They may not recognize what they're missing at first, but it's felt strongly, even if they don't express it aloud. But eventually, that absence starts to hurt like a sore. They'll discover you're gone when they grab for the phone to call you. They will be reminded of you by a song, a word, or something else. And it strikes them like a kick to the stomach for a brief instant. They sit in the solitude for a while until it finally hits them. The piece they are lacking is you. They can attempt to move on and carry on as though nothing has changed. However, the reality is that life has changed. It wasn't until they lost you that they realized how much they needed you. Individuals believe that distractions might help them fill that gap. They believe that the energy you brought will be replaced by another person, relationship, pastime, or event. But that's never how it goes. They are compelled to face the emptiness in ways they cannot escape once you depart. Emptiness is actually a reflection of everything they failed to notice, every moment they failed to completely appreciate, and every word they chose not to utter when they had the opportunity. They come to the realization, possibly too late, that appreciating the importance of your presence is the only way to fill that vacuum. Your truth, your love, and your loyalty. There is more to that feeling of emptiness than meets the eye. It serves as a warning. Life is letting them know that they didn't fully get your meaning until it was too late. The good news is that it's also an opportunity. They have an opportunity to think, grow, and learn in that void. Not only does the hole you left serve as a reminder of their loss, but it also gives them the opportunity to reflect, grow, and realize the significance of what was lost, as well as to never again take somebody for granted. And even though that emptiness hurts, it has a purpose. They start to realize the worth of what they had in that void. They begin to hear the lessons you left behind in the quiet. Know that your absence has caused them to experience something they may not have previously comprehended when you're away. It would have been more than a loss if you had remained in that void. They won't soon forget it because it serves as a potent reminder of the influence you had on their life. Nothing can really fill the gap that is left after you go. It's not always until you're gone that people realize how much your presence matters. They start to experience that emptiness in unexpected ways when you leave them. It goes beyond simply missing someone. It's about recognizing that the connection, the support, and the energy you gave were irreplaceable. Consider it that everyone contributes something special. Only you possess the mood, energy, and presence that you bring to the table. It's the discussions, the giggles, and the silent, encouraging moments, and the implicit comprehension that permeates interpersonal relationships. You become a part of their world when you're there. However, that energy and that space vanishes as soon as you are gone. Furthermore, it cannot be substituted by anything or anyone, no matter how hard they try. Even if they make an effort to be among other people, it never works. They may go out, stay occupied, and occupy their days with various activities. They sense it, though, as the noise subsides. That void, it resembles a silent, chilly chamber that was once cozy but is now hollow and reverberating. It's the lack of anything authentic, something real. No one else can fill the void left by the vitality and vitality you added to those moments. Additionally, emotional presence is equally as important as physical presence. Others weren't there for them the way you were. When they needed to speak, you paid attention. When they were doubting themselves, you gave them encouragement. When they needed a bit more motivation, you gave it to them. Being there was only one aspect of your presence, the other was the influence you made. The nuance where you gave them a sense of importance, visibility, and hearing, and they bear the consequences of your absence when you're not there. All of it is gone, including the talks that seemed so natural, the laughs that seemed so natural, and the sense that they had someone they could rely on. I'm referring to that type of nothingness. Missing the face in the room isn't the only issue. It's about realizing that their lives are lacking something vital. They seem to have been hollowed out. They may attempt to fill it with more people, things, noise, and distractions, but it will never be the same because genuine connection and the genuine impact you have made on their life are irreplaceable. They may also attempt to persuade themselves that they are all right and don't require your help, although they are aware that this is untrue. They will always be reminded by the emptiness. Even though they may not discuss it, it exists. It's the sensation that something important is absent. The knowledge that they were unaware of their possessions until they were taken away. Even though they didn't express it at the time, that emptiness serves as a reminder of how much you cared and how much you gave. Thus, keep in mind that it's more than simply leaving when you fade away. Take a step back and leave that void behind. It's about them confronting the truth of what they have lost. Making them understand that the place you held in their lives was something genuine and priceless is the goal. Even if they might not notice right away, their absence will be very noticeable. Here's the thing, even though they may find it difficult to replace the vacuum, you've given them a powerful opportunity to think, develop, and realize the full worth of what they had in you. Therefore, don't feel guilty about vanishing when it's required. Sometimes the only way they can learn to value you is to step away. Recognize that both your presence and absence matter as you travel your route. It serves as a reminder that you were never only a passing phase in their lives, even though they may feel the emptiness now. You are and always will be an irreplaceable force.